songwriter? What makes a songwriter?
Well, there's different aspects of songwriting. At that particular time, I was singing a lot of other people's songs,
yeah.
and I enjoyed singing them because I admired a songwriter. I admired all the songwriters that wrote those songs back in the 50s and everything. But in '47, I had tried my luck on writing songs, and I came up with one song called Baby Blue Eyes.
Turned out well.
And it turned out real well. At that particular time, I didn't get a lot of response from the song, and it actually didn't do anything until real late on in the later years. But in the last couple of 3 years, it's been one of my most popular songs and been recorded by a number of other artists there.
Doc Watson.
Doc Watson, Nashville Bluegrass Band, and which Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs, they did it in the early 50s after I recorded for Capitol, but they did it bluegrass. But I felt like that if I was writing songs and if I put my idea on paper, then and I recorded them, and just very lucky they accepted them. So I still don't consider myself a songwriter, but if I get the idea, I would advise young musicians today to do what I did. I mean, put it on paper.
Yeah.
Record, write it down, even if it doesn't sound right, write it down, but because that's how you start. All songwriters start like that.
Yeah.
They get their ideas together and I put it down, and I was one of the fortunate ones to come up with the right combination of writing songs. And of course I had co-writers too on a lot of stuff.
Yeah. What is it like to go to America and visit bluegrass festivals? You hear about festivals, you see a festival here in Austria. Is this something like you see in America?
Yeah, primarily it's like that because, see, back in the late 50s, people got away from the country music and which bluegrass had just started at that particular time, and they didn't have anywhere to go because most of the artists in Nashville were getting big, and they didn't want to go back and play the little small towns again because it was too much of a hassle for them when they could play the bigger shows.
Yeah.
And the people were still there waiting for them to come back to their local town and play.
Yeah.
And I had a number of big artists, big name artists at that time would actually tell me, said, well, the people has deserted me. We made it big now and they deserted me. I said, no, they didn't desert you. They're still waiting for you to come back to that small town and play for them.
Yeah.
And that's the way I feel, actually. That's why I was very fortunate to be able to come over here in 1979 and in Holland and work, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I never had my wildest expectations that I would never would be able to come over here, and I had that opportunity, and it just drove me to do more things for music.
Yeah. Well, what is it like to come over from America to a whole other part of the world, to Europe?
I love it. I love
to see unknown people that know your songs?
Well, it was surprising because the first time I came over and I started singing my songs, and I had no idea that they remembered them.
Yeah.
But they did.
Yeah.
And they would request the songs, and that made me feel real good.
Yeah.
You see, I have a recording. I bought the recording that you did in in such and such a year, and would you sing it for me? And it made me feel good to know that they had remembered, and they actually had recordings of those songs, and they still do today.
Yeah.
But my style of writing songs today is a little bit different from what I wrote back in the 50s, because most of mine was ballad songs. They were country songs, and I converted it into bluegrass with a banjo and a fiddle, and people told me it wouldn't work, and it worked, and so you don't listen. A lot of times I like constructive advice, but sometimes you have to take the initiative and go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
So I consider myself very lucky to be able to come over here. This is my 9th tour now. And
where did it take you? All those tours. What countries did you get to see? What people did you play with?
Well, actually it was Holland, and then Belgium, and then later on, the last 2 or 3 years of my tours here, I went into England and Scotland.
Yeah.
And that was great because I had a lot of response from my songs over there, and they remembered the songs and bought the 45s that I had recorded. And then I went into Germany and worked there. And then a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to come to Austria and in Switzerland and Germany and Holland and England, and I'm looking to go other countries. I'd love, you know, we had set up a tour to go to Sweden. And I've always wanted to go to Denmark and Sweden, but we couldn't get together with the promoter, so that's no big deal, because later on maybe we could go.
Oh yeah, maybe next year. And now with the Iron Curtain
sure.
open.
I'd love to go to Russia. I'd love to go to some of the other countries.
There's so many people in the eastern part of Europe that are fond of country music.
Oh sure, it surprised me. I didn't know that the people here in Europe accepted the music that I did in the early days, but they have recordings that I don't even have recorded.
Yeah.
And it made me feel good, and it still makes me feel good. So as long as I'm able and my health holds up, then I want to continue to come back all the time.
Mm-hmm. You never brought your own band from America? You played
No,
with
it's a little
bands?
expensive. You know, it's too expensive to bring a full group. Now there are some groups that come over here, you know, when they first get started and they want to break in the market.
Yeah.
And they ask me a lot of things about, well, you've been to Europe for 7, 8 years, you know, what's it like? I said, it's great.
Yeah.
Because over here, people like the music over here. They like the early music that we did. They like the new music. I don't think they're too fond of the type of music that's coming out of Nashville today, which is called rock country, and I never did like rock country. I liked hillbilly rock in the 50s, and I did some of it. But really, the people over here really like this type of music, and it makes me feel good.
I think people even in Nashville are going back on the style of the 60s and
Well,
50s.
I found that out from artists in Nashville, even today, some of the country artists, and there's very few country artists that plays pure country, and they're coming over here.
Yeah.
They're making tours over here, and because these people over here want to see them.
Yeah.
They heard them on record for all the years, all these many years, and they like it. I thoroughly enjoy coming over here visiting, because I picked up a lot of new fans, and everywhere I go and play, I pick up new fans, and the old fans remember me too. So.
Yeah, sure. You play with different local bands in Europe. You even record with the
you know,
with the band?
surprisingly, when I first came over here, I worked with a group. I don't actually remember the name in 1979. But when I got here, I was a little surprised that those musicians were so good, you know.
Yeah.
But they were emphasizing, when I first went in '79 and came into Holland to work this show at Utrecht, this group was there to back me up, and we went up for rehearsal that first night. And I went up, and I started singing my songs that I wanted to sing on the show tonight, and they stopped making music, and they told me, said, "You're not singing this right."
Oh, yeah.
And I said, "Why?" He said, "You're not singing it like the record." Well, naturally, I mean, I never sing it like I record it. You know, there's always a little emphasis you put on stuff.
Yeah.
And so it surprised me, and I had to sing it exactly like the record so that they could play it.
Yeah.
But since then, I think that you with your band and other bands that I work with, Smoke Down Strut and Hard Times and many other bands, that they've come out and start working arrangements to suit themselves. They take songs that Bill Monroe recorded, or Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs, or many of the old bluegrass artists today playing. They would take their songs and work up different arrangements. And you did the same thing with Rap Stanley songs and Charlie Moore songs and stuff like that when you recorded your new album.
Yeah.
We might as well put in a plug for your new album, right?
Well, we can do that.
Well, sure.
He wrote the
somebody
liner
might
notes.
buy one, yeah. And folks, it is good, you know. If people like the bluegrass and like the country, old-time country, but I found out that people like the old-time country, the old songs of the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, much more than they do the new songs today that come out of Nashville.
It's
Because
too far away from the country music.
they've gotten away from country music. I hate to see that. Actually, I hate to see people, but I know that music has changed. Everything changes, and music has changed, perhaps to those people in Nashville for the better, but I still like my old-time music.
People ask me several times, what is country music? What is bluegrass music? Is that country music? What is country and western? Can you describe what's western, what's country, what's bluegrass, or is it just the same type with different instruments or different feeling? Or?
You know, to my way of thinking, you know, I was there in the 30s working and recording and singing and playing, and we didn't have the instrumentation to back us up to do a full, you know, a full band, you know, like they do today. Today they're using organs and they're using percussion and all this stuff, and they're enhancing the music, it's true, but they've gotten away from the flavor of old-time music. I remember when, like I told you, I mean, I was a hillbilly, and I still consider myself a hillbilly, but when country music started getting popular, those guys in Nashville, they didn't like to be called a hillbilly. So I remember sitting in on a session with Ernest Stubb one night in Nashville, and they wanted to change the name of the music. And so Ernest suggested that since we were all from the country, to call it country music. So that's the way they started it. I think he was the one that started calling it country music. And then the western music, the western swing was out of the Southwest and the West, and Bob Wills was a very popular fellow at that time. He's doing a lot of swing music, so they converted it into country and western music. And it just took off, country music took off. But then in 1955 and 56, here come Elvis, and he started doing rock, which was great. You know, I'm not knocking the music as a whole, but there's always room for different types of music.